And I think we are live. Sorry, folks, we're an hour and a half late doing this. Sorry. I'm too used to speaking loud. Speaking loud. Using my top voice. Anyway, this is, I'm touting it as But I Digress episode 41 because I haven't done one of these YouTube videos in forever. And honestly, I think what I was doing on YouTube back before I started the podcast was more akin to something like a live show anyway. But hello, everyone. I need to do a better job of keeping track of this and promoting it. I'm Nathan, obviously. That's whose channel you're watching, and this is Eric. I don't think I ever had you on any of my old YouTube videos before. Nope. So this is your first. So say hello to all the peoples. Nerd Chapel represent. Well, I guess I'll represent, Christian Gamers Guild a little bit there. Yep. So what I was planning on doing with all of these is in the past, I would go on my website and write blogs about it each day of the con. But I realized we live in the day of live broadcast videos and stuff like that. It's so much easier to do that. Not that I don't love writing the blogs. I really do. I'm a writer at heart still. But I figured this would be a great opportunity to revive the YouTube channel a little bit. I've been putting up some of the YouTube shorts. You were in a couple of them. You're in one of them for sure. Showcasing what's been going on here at Gen Con 2021, people. They had, what do you want to call last year? I mean, they technically had a Gen Con, but it was all
virtual. They had a virtual con last year.
Fake Gen Con.
Yeah, virtual con.
Where I tried to do a couple of live presentations, and they were comedies of errors, to say the least. I think I might have gotten semi-banned from leading Gen Con events again.
Yeah, I didn't do much with it. I attended the little Christian Gamers Guild thing that they did Sunday morning. Dave Manley still did one. So,
really?
Yep. It was just him giving a message. So I watched that, and I watched the part of. I didn't see all of it, but I watched part of a session that the restoration team did on designing decks for Unmatched.
Ah, okay.
So I watched part of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So not a whole lot happened. So we're coming to you live. I can actually say that. Coming to you live from our hotel room, and there's a lot we could talk about. These are just going to be little recaps talking about everything that's been going on during the day here at the con. And part of why this is going up late is because we were kind of having a little too much fun while this was going on. But let's start at the beginning here, Eric. Let's talk about yesterday getting here, because we had a little bit of both of us had a little bit of an adventure getting here. So
mine was a pretty normal drive down.
Well, yeah, but you had to get help from semi-strangers in order to do it. You basically went on Facebook and said, "Hey, I need a ride. Can you give me a ride?"
Yep. Went into the Fans of Gen Con group, and the person who said, "Hey, we might be able to do it," we had some friends in common on Facebook, so it wasn't so scary. And turns out she's the cousin of a guy that I know pretty well that leads a gaming group.
Yeah.
So
that helped you out. Yep. But the thing that we both have in common is we both got here later than we normally did.
Yeah.
Which was a little problematic to say the least. But in my case, I was trying so hard to go all out because this is really the first book signing and con I think I've done in 2 years. I just, for some odd reason, something keeps telling me that there was a con. Did they still have that little con in Fort Wayne last year in October? Or that didn't happen either. Okay, I'm thinking of 2019, but when that happened. So I'm trying to get back into the group. Let me tell you, it was a little more difficult than I thought it would be. And so here I am at my apartment in Fort Wayne. My brother Jared and I, he's my roommate, and I ordered some things to have for the vendor hall to sell books. And I have 3 new books this year.
Only 3.
Only 3.
Only 3.
Only 3. Mm-hmm. But so I ordered some things, and I was ordering them relatively last minute. So I hope they come in. One of them was a wireframe shelving unit to display the books. It looks like it's more like a magazine rack.
Yep.
That came in from Amazon using UPS.
Yep.
That afternoon.
Yep.
Which was good. But I also called up my friend Rocco, my man Rocco. Shout out to Rocco, and he works at a print shop, and I had him make me a banner, and it was going to be amazing. He sent me pictures of it. It was going to be great. It was going to be absolutely amazing. It was. Here's the thing. He shipped it FedEx. Here's another reason not to like FedEx people. So he shipped it FedEx. He paid for 2-day air shipping on Monday. Never arrived in time. Mm-hmm. I waited until 7 o'clock because he said it might come at 7. I waited until 7 o'clock. We got nothing. This morning, just to continue the story, jumping ahead a little bit, he texted me because he went back into work, and he said, here's the tracking number. I looked it up. Dang thing was nowhere close to Indiana. I was like, it is nowhere close.
He should have sent you the tracking number before that.
Well, he lost it. Because he left it at work. So he told me and not too long after I sent him the screenshot of where it was, he's like, I am on the phone right now giving FedEx an earful. And I'm like, please do, because I wanted that banner so bad, because it would have been great. But barring that, Jared and I, we left around 7-ish. And unfortunately, because good Lord, I hate big city streets and highways. I am so used to small towns and small cities. I mean, Fort Wayne is the second largest city in Indiana, and its street system is not nearly this wacky, and it drove me insane. And so I ended up taking a few wrong turns, and so I got there later. But the thing is that ended up being something of a blessing in disguise, because 10 minutes after Jared and I showed up at the hotel, you did. And I thought you'd be a little bit later.
Yes. And I thought I'd be a little later too, but it went pretty well coming down here.
Yeah. So then we checked in, and this honestly may go down as my favorite hotel room that we've ever had during a Gen Con trip, because the room is suite style, and he's trying to show it off. So we got a kitchen back here and a big old spacious room over here. But normally I would think, okay, if the room's really like this is really nice, there's probably not going to be much of anything else, and you have to pay for it. No, we get continental breakfast with this, but normally it'd be like if you wanted a continental breakfast, the room wouldn't be as good. So it's like it's got everything. The only real downside is that I think we have to walk about a mile to get to the convention center.
It's a bit longer, but it's doable.
Yeah, it's highly doable, and I don't mind the walk. I actually really enjoyed the walk. So that is the only real downside. Otherwise, I think this might be my favorite room that we've had.
Yeah.
So we got settled in last night. The big problem that I knew we were going to have to take care of in the morning
getting everything over
was getting everything over there, because I didn't get here soon enough to set up when we got here, and I knew that was going to be a problem. So that was our first adventure of the day. So we got up, we had our breakfast, did our morning routines, we were set and raring to go. And the first thing we had to figure out was how the heck to get the merchandise over there. And we had a lot. As I think, you had how many copies of the new devotional? Because that's one of the 3 new books that I have this year is the Fantastic 42, A Fellowship Facing Doom with Hope. That's one of the 3 new books. It's book 3 of the 42 series. Yep. New devotional book series, book 3. And then the other one is Attack of the Kaiju Volume 1 from Wild Hunt Press. It's an anthology that I contributed to. And then I have Zorzum and the God Who Devours, which I co-wrote with not Eric Anderson. You did the other book. You're all blended together, and it's late.
Didn't Nick and Brosman tell you I did their parts for that book?
The liars. Anyway, so Aaron Brosman and Nick Hayden. So Sword and Sorcery fantasy novel, also published by Wild Hunt Press. So we had all of those ready, and I had copies of the old books ready to go. But how many did you have of the new devotional book?
45. I had a box of 45, and instead of taking some out, I'm just going to send them all, because even if we sell a bunch of them, I think you and I might sign a couple for specific purposes.
Yeah.
So there's a reason why I brought that many.
Yeah, and then I think I had, oh, good grief, I probably had at least 75. because I have 25 of
that's
the
not
source,
including the copies I brought of our other 2 books in the 40.
Yeah, so I think like we must have had we had over boxes of over 100 books easily. And books are not life when you put them all in a box together. Let me tell you. And so that was but thankfully it was all still in my car.
Except for the books I sent down with Darren.
Yeah, which that was the first thing we had to do on our little adventure today. So we knew where Darren was staying, our friend Darren, Darren Ball, who contributed to the Fantastic 42. And so the first thing we were like, okay, we need to go get those books. The vendor hall was opening at 10, which is a little bit later than it normally does in years past on Thursday. Normally they open at 9 to let, they call them VIGs, very important gamers, come in and they get first dibs on everything. They didn't do that this year. So we knew that we didn't have to get there quite as soon. So the first thing is that we had to go to Darren's hotel to get those books. So I tried to find a parking spot where I could just sit there. Then I had horrible flashbacks to getting my driver's license, where I had to do parallel parking. Nobody likes doing parallel parking. That was a pain. And I didn't quite get the car in there as well as I wanted to, but I didn't want to have to deal with a potential lawsuit and deal with insurance. So I played it a little safe. We got those books out here. Then we had to go take the stuff to the convention center, unloaded it, and then I took the car back to the parking garage for the hotel, walked back. Then I'm like, now I got to get the badges. Then I went to the wrong place because I thought, oh, I have to go here. No, but that's where I had to go get
exhibitor badges are always at
the exhibitor HQ, but I'm so out of practice that I forgot that they're at their own thing because my brain just defaulted to my earliest years at Gen Con where everything was in one place. So, but I managed to get Jared's badge, but he didn't have an exhibitor badge. You didn't have an exhibitor badge. So the only person who could take the 100 books plus all the other stuff we needed into the vendor hall was technically me. And we're like, we already were straining ourselves carrying all these things over there, thinking we're Arnold Schwarzenegger or something like that.
I am. Why are you?
My impersonation of Arnold is better than yours. I have his voice, but I don't have the muscles. Anyway. So then it was a pain in that getting everything over there. Mm-hmm. We're straining ourselves to get it over there.
And I'm standing with some of the books waiting for him as he went to go back and get more at another spot.
Yes.
Because we couldn't carry them all at one go, even with all 3 of us. And I'm standing here and I see some of the guys from Love Thy Nerd walking over. I'm like, hey, and we greeted each other. And I said, well, waiting here, we've got all these books, but Nate's the only one with a vendor badge. And like, well, we got 3 guys with vendor badges. They can always walk stuff into there for you if you want. And they were right there.
And they did.
And they did. We found Nate's table on the app, which I had already found when just bumming around the app earlier. And I said, okay, guys, here's these boxes. Here's where you take them. Like, okay. And they just took them for us.
Yeah, it was great. And then it was a burden off of us, figuratively and literally. We brought the rest of the stuff over. Ryan was the one I talked to. Because he waited for me at my table.
Which was good.
And I said, we got a few more. Can you just help us bring it in? And we did. And I chatted with him. And we were talking about how this year it feels like, we called it Diet Gen Con. Because, it's not quite Gen Con 0.
No.
But it's Diet Gen Con. It's not quite all there. It's smaller this year. A lot of mainstays that, for me, they were just always there. And I would always go check it out. They're not there.
No.
A lot of my Gen Con author friends are not here this year. The ones but then I realized that more of them are here than I thought, but they weren't exhibiting under their name. They're exhibiting under their series or their like they start a publisher and then they were exhibited under that or something like. So I wasn't seeing their actual names and I forgot what the names of their stuff, or they started something new. But so I found that a few of them were there, but a lot of them weren't. And the writer symposium was not there. A lot of the other groups that would come into events are not here this year.
A lot of the major vendors aren't. Well, they announced, and even this week as I was watching the Fans of Gen Con group, there are lots of people saying, well, I'm pulling out last minute. I just can't make it. Some of them were vendors. Some of them were people who were just coming to play games and check things out.
Yeah, well, what's crazy is there was a table in our row. It was across from us, kind of catty corner a little bit.
Yeah.
That it was originally belonged to an author, and I guess the author backed out at the last minute. And this was just this empty table sitting there, and then a few people in the row just like, it's just sad to have this empty table. So people took like their business cards and their bookmarks and their freebies and just made it the freebie table, just put stuff there. So we took some of our stuff and put it over there. And so it's like, at least it has something. It looks like it's doing something, because otherwise it was just sad sitting there.
Most conventions, or a lot of conventions, have a free literature table.
Yeah.
Where anyone can put stuff in and anyone can grab from the stuff.
Yeah.
So this is just the writer's version of that.
Basically. So, and the entire vendor hall was not filled. There's a lot of space that normally when you would go to Gen Con and you walk into the vendor hall, it's wall to wall in this massive room, nothing but vendors, whether selling games, books, art, whatever, just merchandise everywhere.
And it's kind of weird because on one hand, there's part of me that feels like they should have given, because they have some space blocked off. There's part of me that feels like they should have let that still given even more space, to have a bit more space between stuff. I don't know. Maybe it's because I always notice.
See, that's the weird thing. See, that's the weird thing.
It's a weird.
That's the weird thing with the Authors Avenue this year, because I feel like the tables are a bit smaller, but they've made more space around the table. It's goofy. And now they have actual gaps in the rows so that you could cut through, which is nice for traffic. But
it's supposed to be for social distancing.
Really?
That's what it's supposed to be for. Yeah.
But people are just cutting through it.
Yeah. Nobody's getting. Yeah.
That's what it is. Okay, whatever. Good Lord. Anyway, so, and they have mandates that you have to wear a mask everywhere, regardless of vaccination status.
Everywhere.
That's a whole
everywhere that Gen Con controls.
Yeah, which is a whole to do. But so there's that, which having to wear those dang masks while carting those heavy boxes around was not fun, because it's making everything worse. But all of that to say, we got all of that settled. And then I'm like, okay, I've got about 30 minutes or so. I should be able to get everything set up, because I had the wireframe shelving where I was putting the older books. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to make a big deal about the new stuff. I'm going to make giant stacks and then get my little book display things. And then I'm going to put a book on each one. And it's like they're standing on top of this tower. And I had Jared make a little sign, said new, and put it right in front of all. It looked snazzy. But then they decided, you know what? It's so congested in the hallway, we're going to open 10 minutes early. Like, what are you doing? I'm not ready.
No, but even in that 10 minutes, you wouldn't have been fully ready yet.
Maybe not, but still, I'm just like, come on. I want those 10 minutes. So all of that to say, everything got started. Now, I have been to Gen Con every year vending, other than last year. Since 2012. So I have certain expectations. I don't expect to make a sale necessarily in the first hour, because a lot of times people don't come over to Authors Avenue. They're looking for the gaming stuff. I also don't necessarily, I just don't expect early sales, because it just generally doesn't happen. But then if I don't get any early sales, I start to panic and think that that's what the whole weekend is going to be like.
I go to a lot more cons than you do. And most cons I go to, the early part of it is not crazy busy.
Yeah.
Gen Con is stranger than other cons, because people come early to get into the vendor hall, whereas a lot of conventions, they don't show up until an hour or two after the vendor hall opens.
Yeah, I need to try to hit up some more cons. I'm going to be honest with you. I really do want to start hitting up some more. But then I will confess to you, it was surprising. And I talked with some of the other authors, and they said that this was also their experience. It was a strangely profitable day.
Just from our devotionals, we had 8 books.
Yeah. And I sold some of my own books. It was weird. I usually don't expect that many sales on Thursday, which is usually one of the least busy days of the convention. The only people who are there are the people who hold 4-day badges, and they have different priorities, generally speaking. Yeah. Or a lot of times what people do, which is what you want to do. Here's a little bit of con-going advice for you. Don't buy anything in the vendor hall the first hour, the first day even, because depending on the size of the vendor hall, because you want to look around and see everything, because you don't want to buy something on impulse and then find something you wanted more later.
unless it's something you were planning on.
Unless there's something you're planning on getting, it's limited quantity, so you don't know if it'll be there later, if it's something you really want, that sort of stuff. So, again, don't necessarily expect a lot of sales on Thursday, but we had a lot.
To be that loud. But we are in a hotel.
I'm saying whatever. Anyway, but we still made pretty good sales, and I was really surprised. Now, I spent basically the entire day in the vendor hall because any event that I would have cut away from, which would have been with the Writer Symposium, wasn't happening. But you did go do some stuff. So what were you doing while I was working?
So there were some times when I was just walking around the vendor hall to get more stuff in the vendor hall. I got the G.I. Joe, the brand new G.I. Joe deck builder game. Excited to check that out. And just walked around, saw a couple of people I know. And then later in the day, I went to play the brand new set for Unmatched that's not out yet. One of many that's not out yet, but this was Battle of Legends Volume 2, which has Sun Yun Kong, the Monkey King, and
Bloody
Mary, and yet the mother of a tribe in Africa. That is, I can't remember her name right now, which is silly, but and then Achilles, and I got to play Achilles, and Achilles was pretty good. For those who don't know on Mats, you always have a main character, and then most of the time, not all, but most of the time, you have one or more sidekicks. Well, Achilles' sidekick is one of his best friends from
Agamemnon?
Not Agamemnon. It's Proculus or
Okay.
Yeah. And so his special ability, because they all have special abilities, is that when this guy dies, when your sidekick dies, you have to discard 2 cards. And then after that, every time he attacks is +2 attack.
Oh my gosh.
And also if he wins an attack, he draws a card. If he wins it. So basically he's going into rage because his friend was killed.
So basically you're going to be throwing your friend into harm's way all the time, and your opponents are going to be like, do I want to kill him or not?
Exactly.
You have to
make him annoying enough to be worth it.
Yeah, there's a character in Luke. Luke is a bit like that in
because he has 2 cards that does more damage
if Leia's gone. Yeah. So you have to sit there and think to yourself, Leia can hit pretty hard when she wants to. Do I get rid of her, or but then worry about Luke getting more annoying? Or
and if you get the right cards early on, use them, and then after you use them, you just let her get killed.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was really good. I like the new set. And I love Unmatched, so I was planning on buying anyway. They don't have it. Most of the sets are still up. There's 10 testing sets that exist right now, and they're still waiting for the shipment and for the completion of the process. And shipping is just crazy right now. And earlier this morning, I'd gone to Mondo because there's 2 companies that do Unmatched. It's a cooperation between Mondo and Restoration. To see, and I'm like, so by some miracle, did you get any of the sets in that weren't technically supposed to be here? They're like, nope, we're not. So
it's like, but it's Gen Con.
Yeah.
They unveiled the game at Gen Con, 3 years ago?
Well, yeah, they premiered it. They had already talked about it. In fact, one of the first places they talked about was San Diego Comic-Con that year. They had a booth there. But and they said no, and they said we think that the Marvel sets won't be in until Q1 of next year. So Q1 2022 is when the Marvel sets will come.
Yeah, but you have Deadpool.
Yeah, I pre-ordered Deadpool, and Deadpool is the only Marvel character they have right now. They do have copies here if there's any left.
Yeah, that's good to know. But for what you told me, Deadpool breaks the game basically, and by design.
By design, yeah.
Really by design.
So anyway, so that was my afternoon, and then I grabbed it. We kind of split up.
We split up. Jared and I took some stuff back to the apartment, and then we tried to go find dinner. Found out that Indianapolis is not. We've taken it for granted that because we live in Fort Wayne, Jared and we may have taken it a little bit for granted that Fort Wayne has gotten back to a whole heck of a lot more normal than Indianapolis, because almost everything was closed. Everything in the mall was shutting down. There were because we tried to go to the food court. There was nothing. And we're like, okay, let's go to Steak and Shake. Well, Steak and Shake is not letting people into the dining hall, so we basically had to do a carryout order. We had to sit there for about 15 minutes or so waiting for our order. I'm like, oh, good Lord, what is this?
That's what I texted you about Subway. Subway was slow. They also had an express set up.
Yeah, I didn't. But I didn't realize that everything else would be as annoying as it was. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I should have taken you up on your advice. But all of that to say, we did manage to get dinner. I do want to back up a little bit to our day in the vendor hall, just a little bit, because we met some cool people while we were in there. Our friend John Stanifer, who's always a staple. He always drops by my table and buys at least one book. He came by and he picked up the Fantastic 42. But one of the things that he's been doing, and he's gotten a fair amount of notoriety in the con for doing this.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, is he cosplays. But what he started doing is before he would do some kind of interesting sort of casual cosplays. Like one year he did Matt Murdock. From the Netflix Daredevil show. Yep. And then what he started doing this is what he's been getting attention for is he's been cosplaying authors.
Yeah.
So like he's done C.S. Lewis, he's done Tolkien. Mm-hmm. Not last year, but 2 years ago he did H.P. Lovecraft. Mm-hmm. And the way he does is that he's usually wearing something like a nice suit. He'll tailor it. But what really sells it are the props. So like when he did Lovecraft, he had a little he had a Necronomicon, mm-hmm. and a plush Cthulhu that he took with him everywhere. When he did Lewis, he had a plushy lion and a pipe and stuff like that. That's what really sells it. And this year we got to see him. This year is Edgar Allan Poe, and he's gone all out with this one. The costume is excellent already.
Very dark.
Yeah, but what really sells it is he has a prop that is a caged raven.
Yes. And
the caged raven, the eyes light up and it makes noise, and I think he's carrying like books with him or something like that. And so it's great. And I was telling him, I saw a couple of cosplayers during the day, and I left him a comment on Facebook. I said, you need to find these people and get pictures with them. One was a person who was actually dressed like a raven, had a raven mask. I'm like, you need to find this person.
And he did find her.
He did find her.
Yeah.
But what would have been really amazing is if there was a girl there who was cosplaying Raven from Teen Titans. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you need to get a picture with her because that would just be so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, we met some cool people. That we met someone we knew from Taylor, Josh Hornbarger.
Yep.
He stopped by and said hello. And
Dave
Mattingly from Christian Gamers Guild, he stopped by. So we got a lot of our friends are here. Some people we didn't even know were here are here. Yep. So it's not been a total wash for sure.
It's been good.
Yeah. So anyway, we did the dinner. Then you went to go play
Lost Ruins of Arnak.
With
a special. Trying to figure out if I can how much I. So, they have an expansion coming out for us. So it was the expansion, but it's not available for sale yet.
Uh-huh.
So the tickets say special event, because they didn't want people to think that they were going to have copies of the expansion for sale. But I got to try it out,
which is not unheard of because I know that are they here? Greater Than Games, are they here?
I don't know. I haven't seen them.
I haven't seen them either.
So I don't.
But they're the guys who made Sentinels of the Multiverse, and before they had a very rough demo version of Oblivion that they brought a few years ago for people to try.
Yeah,
I don't even think they had put it up on Kickstarter yet at that point. So they were really testing it out, letting people see what the expansion for the game was going to be like. So you tried Arnak, that's what it's called.
Lost Ruins of Arnak.
Yeah, and you won. Yeah, I caught some of the game that you were playing, and you ended up winning.
No, I didn't win.
Oh, you didn't? I thought you did.
No, I did really well, but all three of us that were playing did really well.
Yeah, it looked like you were.
Yeah.
Now I was going to try to get in on a Arnak demo, but then I got sucked into playing Galaxy Trucker,
I like Galaxy Trucker,
which I had never played before. And when you tried to explain it to me, you said you called it Battleship with Carcassonne in space.
That's
basically.
how Liz, like one of the people I was playing with,
Yeah.
described it to you.
And I'm like, how is that going to work? And then I went and I tried it, and I'm like, good Lord, this is amazing. I want this game.
It's so much fun.
It's so fun.
It is.
It's relatively quick and easy.
Did they give you use the timer for when you were building the ship?
No.
Okay, that's when it's really crazy.
I didn't know there was a timer. They basically said just keep going
Yeah.
until you
Yeah.
just keep
And
going
that's
until
normally
you
what I
build
do.
the whole thing.
After you've played it a few times, you actually have a timer that you use.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but you don't want to use that right off the bat because it's
very that would be stressful.
Yeah, it is stressful. And that game takes place in the same universe as Space Alert, which you've played 1 or 2 times with me.
You've got to be kidding me.
The same, yeah.
Wow.
They're meant to be in the same universe.
Good Lord.
And there's a novel for Galaxy Truckers.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, alien references abounded when we were playing.
Yes.
Because of like, there's like, you have to go get some dangerous cargo. Well, hopefully they're not alien eggs.
Yeah.
That ends badly.
Well, yeah, there's a game a buddy of mine has that you need to play sometime.
What's that?
Nemesis. It's basically Alien.
Oh, mother trucker.
There is an actual.
Yeah, did you see the
game.
xenomorph statue that's out front? Jared and I got pictures with it. People go up there. It's set up to let you know, hey, come to this booth and see this game, but it's set up so that you can sit there and take pictures. And we took a couple pictures with it. It's this alien. It's this xenomorph with the hand sticking out to try to get you.
I got a picture with the Stargate. Ha ha ha.
Oh,
Yes.
are you special?
Stargate is cooler than Alien.
Stargate. You in Stargate.
You know, Stargate had an original movie. It had 10 seasons of SG-1. Then it had 5 seasons of Atlantis. And it had 2 direct-to-DVD movies that were pretty good.
You left something out.
Stargate Universe.
Yes. And then that internet show.
Yeah, the internet show was okay. Stargate Universe. Stargate has always felt like family. Stargate Universe was not family. It was people arguing with each other. And I know some people think that's what family is, but
isn't that how some people describe The Walking Dead for a while?
Yeah.
Lots of people arguing and sometimes zombies.
And that's what it was. It was lots of people.
Yeah, but anyway, it was ridiculously fun. I ended up not winning. The funny thing was, partly
you're back
because
to Galaxy Trucker.
Yeah, well, Galaxy Trucker, yeah. The thing that was partly because I didn't quite know what was going on, but also partly because I accidentally played it safe. I ended up not winning.
Yeah.
It was goofy. You know, for a while, I thought I was going to make something of a comeback because I designed my ship built better than all the other players, but because I wasn't able to do as much stuff.
Yep.
I didn't do as much stuff. I ended up not winning, but I guarantee you, the next time I play, it's going to be very different because now I know what the heck I'm doing. But so there was that. And then you had a little time to kill before your next event. So then we went into the what is it called? It's not the free
play area.
Just
for pickup games.
Okay.
Anyone
Pickup
can
games.
just sit at a table.
And then we bumped into our friends from Love Thy Nerd again. So Bubba, I don't know if you're watching or listening to this, Bubba, but we bumped into him and some of the other guys, and they were just playing some games. And we just hung out for a little bit.
Chris Botany was there.
Yeah.
I said hi to him.
Yeah, so we just hung out for a little while, and while you were waiting to start your next thing, and then I got a little bit lost trying to get back to the hotel when I was originally planning on doing the stream at 10 o'clock, and got a little bit lost, got here, and then I found out that one of my Gen Con friends and our next door neighbor in the vendor hall, Mary Fan, shout out to Mary Fan, staying in the same hotel. She was in the lobby, and she's like, "Is that Nathan?" I'm like, "Who? Oh, you're here too?" And then we ended up
Was it just like that?
Yes. And then I ended up just sitting there chatting with her and her friend for about an hour and a half. And then you showed up, and I'm like, "Oh, hi, Eric." And then we came up here and we did the stream, and I'm just like, "Well, I guess Eric gets to be in the stream like a promised anyway." But just had to be an hour and a half late. Now I am gonna change the time for the other streams to probably closer to 11 o'clock because I have a feeling that's going to be more reasonable for what we're going to be doing.
People will watch it later, though.
Yeah, people will watch it later. I need to advertise them a little bit more. Let people know so they can join in. But, yeah, I think that's basically everything that we did for day one. I'm really hoping that right now, what we saw today will just get exponentially better with more traffic and more people.
Hopefully.
And people who are just like, I haven't been to a con in 2 years. I'm going to go crazy. Buy all the books. And, I'm hoping that, because my worst nightmare right now is that as good as Thursday was, it's not going to be that good for the rest of the weekend. So my expectations have been set too high. But you never know. With conventions, it's the Wild West.
It is. I mean, the Fantastic Con in Fort Wayne, I've had years where I only sold a few books, and then the last time they had it, I sold it as many devotionals as we did at your table at Gen Con that same year.
I know it's just ridiculous.
You never know what it's going to do.
Yeah, you never know. It's wild. It's wild, but it's part of the excitement. It's also part of the frustration all at the same time. And what really I can't figure out. Because I've been bragging for years that this Zorzum book, once I got it published, I'm like, this is perfect for this crowd. I won't have to pitch it. I'll just put it in front of them and they'll eat it up. They haven't been eating it up as much as I thought. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Although I've also been selling copies of some of the other books. I'm like, these won't be quite as popular. But apparently kaiju are more of a thing now because the kaiju books have been selling.
Yep.
It's a little bit weird.
And I think kaiju books are probably more rare than barbarian books.
Yeah, that is true.
So when someone that likes to read kaiju stories sees a kaiju book, they take the
they freak out. Yeah. What I'm really hoping is that a lot of the people who stop by, because it's day one, they say, hey, this sounds really cool. I may come back later. I hope they make good on that promise and come back. Yeah. It's always a little frustrating when that happens. Now, on the other hand,
when they come back, it's frustrating?
No, when they don't come back. You got me. Now, because I know I've done it. We've all done it when we've wandered around in a vending area and someone tries to get us to buy something. And we're like, I'm not so sure yet.
I've started, I tell people I'll keep it on my mind. I don't tell them to come back. I'll keep it in mind.
Yeah, I would rather someone be honest like that.
Yeah.
And we had some people who flat out turned us down.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. And to be honest, I think once they find out that we're selling devotional books, I do think that turns some people away.
It does.
They don't want to have anything to do with that. And I understand.
Normally, when I have a table for Nerd Chapel, I get everyone. Whenever you're tabling at convention, everyone has some people that ignore you. It's just because there's a diverse group. We're all looking for different things. But I feel like when I set up a table for Nerd Chapel, I get a little bit more ignored than others, and that's going to happen because what I do is unexpected, and people aren't sure what to think of a faith-based thing at a con
which is weird because it's not like you're the first.
Well, but the thing is, even though there have been other groups and organizations that do it, it still isn't thought of as a thing.
Yeah,
and there's actually a lot more doing it now than there was when I first started Nerd Chapel.
Yeah,
so it's one of those people don't expect it, and I had one or two times when people laughed at it just because they didn't know how it's to react.
Yeah.
And, very few times when someone said something insulting, that normally doesn't happen. Normally, they'll just ignore me if they don't like what I do. And I had one time very, very early on in my time with Nerd Chapel and going to cons, my first time having a Nerd Chapel table, just me and the table, a guy came over and said, hey, I've seen you here all weekend. I completely disagree with everything you're about, but I think it takes guts, and I think you should keep doing it.
Hey.
And that's...
Well, and I've had some similar stories about the devotional books. I had a guy who came in, he bought it one year, and I told him that I was feeling a little bit discouraged that weekend, and he told me, hey, keep doing what you're doing, and God's going to use it. And then he came back the next year, and he said, I read that devotional book myself, and then I gave it to one of the kids that I know. I forget if it was because he was a teacher or if it was a kid from his church or whatever. But he said, here, I gave it to him. And he said that he got so much out of it reading it. I was like, I want you to remember and I told you this, God's going to use what you're doing. Even if you don't see it, God's going to use it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thank you for telling me that. I needed to hear that.
And there's little things. There's moments when you're just frustrated because you're not getting interaction with people. And then there's moments when things happen that you just can never plan. that it's just God brings it together, and you're having an important conversation with someone, and you're not necessarily taking the whole way they're going. You're helping them take 1 or 2 steps in that conversation, just helping them deal with 1 or 2 things.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like some of those initial sales that we had today, where I barely said anything, and this guy said, "All right, I'll take that." I had one leftover copy of a book that I just wanted to get rid of because it's been sitting in that box for the poetry book that I contributed to. Someone actually bought it. I threw it on the shelf. I was like, it's probably going to sit there and collect dust all weekend. Within
2 hours,
2 hours, someone saw it and said, "I want it." I'm like,
I think part of her reasoning was that it was something that was originally conceived to help raise money for a food bank.
It was. It was a charity thing, but it was also because it was Indiana Poets.
Yeah.
And she was from Indiana. Well, a lot of people here are. So it was just, there's been little surprises like that. And I really hope that becomes the theme, honestly, for us while we're here at the convention. Yeah. It just becomes this, this weekend of little surprises.
Yeah.
So we'll get to hear all about it in the following episodes for the next couple of days, even if I may have to, Skype you in basically for the 4th one on Sunday night. But unless you go to bed for school, which I may have to as well because I'm teaching on Monday.
So we don't know if we'll do one on Sunday.
Well, maybe I might do it by myself really quick. Yeah. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, enjoy watching this and stay tuned for the rest. Was that you, Jay?
Bye-bye.